Welcome. I'm Andy Amato, and I'm preparing to move off grid. I just need all the forces of nature to stop fighting against me. Now, I'm getting there. I'm out of debt. I'm just putting together the last pieces of the puzzle. And I've got a senior in high school, too. So getting him finished up. He's already set up for college. That's what he wants to do. So he's got a job he can do all summer. So I'm hoping to get out there and purchase a property and then go back out in the spring and start it. But this is the main website I like to use, Land Search, because they list the elevation. And for me, where I'm looking in western New Mexico and Arizona high desert, that's really important, the elevation. So what I'll usually do is go towards my favorite area, which is like Grants or Rama, New Mexico area, and that's where I'll start. But I need to set my criteria here. So I like 28.5 is my max budget. So I'm just put in mine. And then I do a max minimum of 3 acres. I want more, but there we go. And then the only tag I would add here is off grid. If you put off grid, restriction, owner finance, if you put all those tags, you won't see any properties. And the thing is, when they build these ads, they add tags. A lot of times in the description, you'll hear about owner finance and all those different things, but they won't add the tags. So almost nobody seems to add all the tags. This property did, I think. Yeah, this is my favorite property right now because it's the only one that has the tall trees like that. And what I do is I come in if I like the picture. What I'm doing is trying to qualify them to call the county. So I'll come into an ad and I'll find out as much as I can about the property. And then for me to determine if I'm going to call the county or not, I'll go search, make sure it's not in a flood zone or it's manageable. Um, you can do a deed search. I've never done that. I just usually figure I will ask before I sign, if there's any leftover covenants or deeds restrictions on it. But so what I'll do is I'll come down, read the description, and probably the first thing I do is just my preference is I'll check the elevation, make sure I have something between I usually like between 6,500 foot elevation and 7,500. But this one's close enough. It's pretty far up there. It's 7,716. So and this ad, I've read it before. He did list he added all the tags. So if you would have done that, you would have saw this one and maybe like one or two other ones. But I would just add off grid. If you're looking like me for off grid, unrestricted property, then yeah, I would with owner financing because we're not going to sell our house for a couple of years. We figured it'd be a good idea to keep it for that first summer between my son's uh, graduation from high school and going to college, and maybe even that second summer, his freshman summer at the end of his freshman year. After that, I don't see him coming back here. He'll have responsibilities up there and stuff. So, be a couple of years and we'll sell. So I'm looking for owner finance, off grid, unrestricted property. And I prefer by owner because the companies sometimes they charge daily interest and everything. The owners, the couple I've talked to that offer financing have been real easy to understand their financing. They keep it basic for the most part, and I'm sure it's not all of them, but I mean, you won't run into any of that. It's just simple interest and pay off your land. But so this is 4.47 acres, which is a little less than I would like, but I could make it work, and it doesn't look like you have neighbors all over you. $24,500, but I'm just not seeing anything else like this. And another big thing that I look at that's real important for me because in a lot of areas you might just be forced to do a septic. I know Arizona has that DIY septic, but every place I looked when I tried this in Colorado, their first and main thing was a septic. When I finally did find some land, they had other things like 600 square foot minimum, and you know, they limit your other structures and stuff like that, and it just got too much for me. But I'm not ruling out, because it would rule out too much property, putting in a septic. I would rather compost like I've done on my sailboats, but if I need to do it, I'll do it. Um, in this property, I can drive off the road onto the property, and I mean, that's one thing. If I had to put in a septic and put in a culvert and a driveway and everything before I could even get on my property and start staying there, camping there, and building it out, um, that's like two pretty pricey things. That would really throw off my schedule, probably by a year. But I could handle one maybe. So yeah, this is great because I could make my own driveway, and then wouldn't have to. And if I had to do a septic, it would be worth it to get this property for me. So, oh, that's beautiful. Put a little cabin in there. Yeah, I really like that. It's the only property I see like this too. And I think it's the elevation, I'm sure. But they say it's pretty accessible. Winters would be an adventure. But that's how I look, and then I'll come down. And there's other properties, and I may not in the end want to spend that much money. $24,500. I don't know. But this property would definitely qualify. I mean, it lists all the things, all my requirements, and then the description 4.47 acres. Mm, it's on Sassy Lane, New Mexico. Wooden scenic, dirt road access, private setting that's still reachable. So that's good. It is off grid, making it suitable for solar and other self sufficient living options. The surrounding area is rich in outdoor attractions. El Morro National Monument, 28 miles away. Ice Cave and Bandera Volcano are 15, and Big Tubes is 30 miles. With no HOA restrictions, this property offers flexibility for recreational use such as RV parking, a cabin site, or a quiet retreat in the high desert of New Mexico. Yeah, that's perfect. So, what I would do here then is this meets all my requirements in the initial ad. So, I guess I'd call that pre qualified. But then I'd want to go up, and I know this is, I believe it's Cabola County. Yeah. So, what I would do now is go to the county, call the county building department, and tell them I'm looking at property in the county and I want to find out some information about permits, restrictions, codes, you know, just what I can do with property if I buy it. And they'll put you in touch with somebody. A lot of times, I've only done it a handful of times, and I think like three of those times somebody either had to call me back or I had to call back. But the other two times they patched me through to somebody, and once in Arizona, I talked to a lady for about 45 minutes. She lived off grid and she was telling me all about it. And it was great, but I'll show you that area. There just isn't much there right now. But so that's what I'll do. I'll go down here and see just from pictures what kind of meets my requirements. And that's easy for me to do. It might not be for everybody. I mean, I need visual stimulation where I am. So, a view or the woods with those tall pines, something like that. That works for me. That's why I moved to islands all my life. Is I just get too depressed, like in sitting in suburbia. That's why I'm ready to go now. But here's one with an awesome view. This is 25,000, so about the same price, but twice the property. It's 11 acres, and that's gorgeous. I could wake up to that. Doesn't have those tall pines, but I might not get everything I want, and I'm gonna do this regardless. So I don't care if I end up on the bottom land in the desert. I mean, I'm gonna go do this. And I was telling a friend of mine that the other day is I've been out there twice looking at property. Not this area, but Arizona mainly. And the next time I go out there, I'm not coming back until I buy a property. Um, and then I'll come back and piece together the rest of it and go back in the spring. But yeah, these are gorgeous views. Might get blown off of there though. It looks like you're kind of on the top of a plateau with no tall trees. I don't know. It wouldn't be my favorite, but and you can make these things nice. It's how you build it out too, I think. I mean, I love what's that guy? Frugal off-grid living. The way he built his place I don't know if that's what he was shooting for, but it reminds me of like an old western town. And he's down in pretty, you know, he's in high desert, but I'm sure, but it's nothing, very sandy and dirty. I mean, it kind of looks like this maybe. I don't know. But he's made it nice because I think he used the environment to make something cool. And it's like an old western town now, the way his homestead looks. But so I believe you can make, and these two right here are great. Like this one has a great view. If it has enough flat building spots, and can you drive onto the property? Maybe. And this one looks nice. Got bigger trees. They're both 25,000, 10 and 11 acres. Yeah, both of these I'd be happy with. Might be happier. That's why I got to go look. I might be happier with something like this 10 acres um, or 11 acres just versus the 4.47 for the same amount of money, even though it doesn't have those tall trees. Just the extra space and everything, convenience of hauling water and different things like that. But I'll make the best informed decision I can. They have a ton of properties, and you might like a lot of these that I don't. I kind of live in the desert now in southeast Texas, by South Padre Island. It's kind of desert, and I want to change. I want something closer to like woods and privacy that you don't get here. So a couple of the other areas I look at. I don't want to do a marathon video. Nobody will watch. Um, I'll come in this area. I know some of these counties I've talked to before. So around Winslow and St. John's is over here. This area. I always check this area. And then over here northwest of Flagstaff by Williams is down here. I would check these out too. Because those are friendly counties to off grid. I always gotta laugh when I see all over YouTube best state to go off grid and stuff, and it's like it doesn't have anything to do with the state. That stuff goes by county. I mean, there's always a few state rules, but those are easy. I mean, you can find out what they are, and that's what they are. I mean, in counties, that's where all your information is. But I've done a million searches for, you know, counties that allow composting or counties that allow, off grid, unrestricted, and nobody's done a book or anything like that yet. I wouldn't want to either, so I don't blame them. But yeah, so those are the three main areas that I look for me. I'm not against the northern state. I'd probably get out of there for a few months a year. I always check Michigan, but I haven't seen anything there lately that really. I check like this northern half and the UP up there. So, and then I check down here. I like the Lake of the Ozarks area and down around northern Arkansas, those lakes there and the mountains, and that's I that's where I started. I was originally going to northern Arkansas, but I'm afraid to. I mean, I grew up over here on the east of the map, and I kind of want to go out west and do something different. Plus, I don't know, summers up there will be a little cooler than they are down here, that's for sure. But you still be, 80% humidity plus and, 95 degrees a lot of days. And if it's going to be that hot, I want it to be dry. And if I can get high enough elevation, I think I can stay pretty cool in the summers. And I don't mind a little bit of challenge in the winter. It won't be like uh, Michigan winters, so I'll be fine. But yeah, those are the three main areas that I look. But I've kind of settled in. I know where I'm going now. Um, for 3 years, I looked at all these areas. And what's funny is I was looking at these areas, Lake of the Ozarks and Michigan, and I would just kind of glance at this stuff, and then I slowly started drifting. But I'm actually really looking forward to that. One thing I noticed when I started traveling is what you see on a map, all the populations from like here to the east. And I need space. I want to be out here. So that's part of it too. And there's a lot more friendly counties out here. I went through a long drug out thing with a county in Missouri by Lake of the Ozarks about what all I would need and everything, and it's like they couldn't even figure it out. So yeah, it's just but there are pockets I know because people are doing it, and I know Michigan. You got to really look a lot harder at the county's rules and everything, and you might have a couple hoops to jump through, but it can be done. People are doing it there, but that's how I go about looking for land. Um, and right now, just for the elevation, I use Land Search, but Land.com's the same setup. But here, right off the bat, 23.9, 8.79 acres. Looks like you can drive right off the road onto property. So, yeah, it's definitely got full size trees. Yeah, I like that. That's gorgeous. Looks like you can get a view. I mean, you have to see. There's a lot of bare land too. I don't want power lines anywhere near my property. I just don't want to see them. I mean, I don't want a reminder of that. And I know I never want to connect to the grid. I heard somebody say the other day, you never know if you might want to go back to the grid. No, you never know, but I do. Never going back. But a lot of the similar properties, a lot of the same properties as you'd see on Land Search. But there's always a couple, so I check them both. And then there's other sites too. I'm sure I'm missing stuff somewhere. That's the one I looked at on the other site. Yeah. There's a lot of the good ones on here you'll see under contract. They get snagged up pretty quick. But also, I've found a lot of these. I've talked to a couple, I think they're land investors and also a couple of owner sellers of land. And they're real accommodating. I mean, because they don't mention it in the description and don't list a tag of owner financing. I mean, out of the three I talked to, two of them would be willing to do owner financing. They just didn't want to put it in the ad right away because they preferred to sell it outright. So, I mean, I wouldn't put in those tags too much. I just put in off grid and go from there. You can always follow up with the last couple questions before you pre qualify it to actually call a county. And then by qualify it, I mean now it's qualified. I want to go look at it, put it on the list. So, anyway, that's how I go about it. I hope somebody can find some value in that. Um, if anybody has any tips for me, I still have so much to learn. I'm learning about my solar system and even this doing video stuff, and I'm enjoying it. But I would love to meet some like-minded people and have some conversations about this stuff, even if it's just online, I guess. But I would love to meet some people in the area. That would be great. But so if you live in Cabola County, that's the county I like probably the best. Get a hold of me, please. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great week. Take care and bless you.